see you there. I'm Alex, again, here to tell you the fourth greatest story ever told. Once there was a boy named Harvey, and he had a pet worm named Baldwin. Now, Baldwin wasn't any normal worm. He had superpowers. Do you know what his superpower was? To make a souffle in 0.2 seconds. Yes, it's super, isn't it? That's why they call it a superpower. Now, Baldwin's idea of a good time was to make souffles, get drunk, and pass out. Now, the boy, whose name is not important any longer, once drank too much, and his head exploded. So Baldwin was all alone, living in a desolation of souffles and beer and cocaine. Once Baldwin was roaming about the streets of Greenwich, Connecticut, with a bottle of beer and some heroin and a souffle in his mouth, when a slight dwarf, who was a vagabond, came up to him and said, "I know the truth." And the truth was the answer to Baldwin's problems. The story is coming out slow right now because it's just a hard story to talk about because of what I'm about to tell you. It was just then that the dwarf took off all of his clothes, stripped Baldwin naked, and took him into a sewer, a dark and scary sewer, in which there were monsters and people, humans with their heads sticking out as if they were part of the sewer, so it's just their heads. And there were no souffles or anything like that. Just at the end of the river was Truman Capote, who was naked himself, eating souffles. And he said, "You know, you have to do this service for me." And he handed him a written decree. And it was the decree of destiny. He had to become a Fanny farmer, where he would farm fannies. Fanny, Fanny, fannies. How do you farm fannies, Alex, you ask? Well, first you have to get someone's butt and stick it in the ground, and then, feed it water, and and then become a fanny farmer. So he had to become a fanny farmer for the rest of his life. And that stinks. So anyway, he was farming until one day Truman Capote came and he said, "Look, you've done your duty. You don't have to be a fanny farmer anymore." When J.K. Rowling, out of nowhere, came with a large gun and shot Truman Capote in the face. And it wasn't any gun. It was a paintball gun. So Truman Capote just got really mad. So they're all standing there, when the most peculiar thing happened. We've got Baldwin the Worm, who's farming Fannies, Truman Capote with a bunch of paint on his face, and J.K. Rowling, who has a paintball gun that's like still smoking and laughing at the situation. There was a storm overhead. It was a hailstorm. A hailstorm where hail was falling and falling and falling. And this hailstorm had just passed. And, they were very angry because they were trying to save the Fannies, because they were Fanny farmers. And, the hail, it ruins the Fannies. And then they saw a light in the sky that was very faint at first, but it was coming towards them. And that's when J.K. Rowling said, "Oh, that's the meteor that's careening towards Earth." And they all tried to run, but next thing they knew, they were squashed by the meteor, and they all died. And that is the greatest story ever told.